Welcome, everyone, to episode 91 of the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor, and with me is a guy who I probably go back with this guy probably over a decade at least. When I was first starting my original band, Vertebreaker, it was back in 2013, 2014. One of the bands we played a lot of shows with was a band called, and they had a very long name. It was called I Woke Up Early for My Funeral. Uh, and then later on, the singer of this band, I noticed this guy right away. Tall, good-looking dude, long hair. I could tell like this guy definitely had that it factor. But I also had sort of that quiet demeanor, little more of that mellow voice. So the girls loved him, obviously. And but yeah, no, we had a lot of good times together. And he later went on to sing in a band called Crowfly. And since then, I noticed that he has his own YouTube channel now, where he's talking about a lot of serious things, including sobriety and just talking about his personal life. So I really wanted to catch up with this guy, let him tell his story a little bit, and just kind of see where he's at. So please welcome to the show, Brandon James.
Hey, how you doing, everyone? Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Good, man. Yeah, like I said earlier, you and I go way back. We were both kind of starting new bands at around the same time, so our paths definitely crossed. What was some of your history before I woke up early for my funeral? I don't know if you had been around for a little bit before then.
Yeah, actually, I started playing in bands probably around the age of 15 in Pennsylvania, actually. And my first band there was a band called Turning Point. And we had some, mildly good success and, on the local level there. And that was pretty much the band that set me off after that project, I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to keep playing in bands. I want to keep singing. I want to write music. And but to fast forward a little bit, I moved to Florida somewhere around 2012, 2013, something like that. And that's when I joined the band. I woke up early for my funeral.
No kidding. Where in Pennsylvania are you from?
I was in the York, Lancaster area, so close to
Dude,
Philly.
I grew up in Kennett Square.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I didn't know that.
Well, I was just up in Philly last weekend, but yeah, I grew up. I was born in Chester, which is just outside of Philly.
Yeah.
I grew up in Chester County. My parents are from Delaware County. Um, I moved to Florida when I was 15, so that was back in like 1999. So, but
Wow.
yeah, but I had just moved to Melbourne on the east coast of Florida at around 2012, 2013.
Yeah, so we both landed there about the same time then. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I was pleasantly surprised at how many musicians were in that part of the state because
Yes.
you don't think it's necessarily a big area. I mean, you do have Orlando nearby, but Brevard County, for those that don't know, is right on the east coast of Florida. They used to call it the Space Coast because that's where Cape Canaveral and the Kennedy Space Center are. So it was known for that. But there actually, and even is to this day, a really cool music community out there. And I know for me, and I'm sure it was the same for you, but like I definitely found a lot of great musicians out there, a lot of kindred spirits, and it seems like that community sort of welcomed me and probably welcomed you, really with open arms. And it was a really cool place to extend, or at least continue my career, and same for you.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. I never thought that it would be so lucrative as far as music and musicians and places to play. The amount of venues in Brevard County alone is amazing. You've got, and then you have you've got Daytona there, you've got Orlando. You're kind of central, and then you could go over to Tampa. It's Brevard County would actually really impress me when I moved there, with the amount of musicians and bands and just places to play, which was
Oh yeah,
pretty incredible.
absolutely. And it's just a couple hours drive from Jacksonville or Fort Lauderdale or Miami, and it's
Yeah.
not a bad place to be. It really isn't.
No,
So how old were you when you were in your first band?
I started my very first band when I was about 15, almost 16, I think. And I was actually, I started drumming. My first band, I was the drummer for about 3 months or
Oh,
something
really?
like that. Yeah. And then a friend of mine, the guitarist for Crowfly, Dave, um, he sat down behind the drums one day and just blew me away. I mean, the guy was just naturally gifted in drumming, and I was like, well, I think you should be the drummer, and I'll pick up guitar or something. So I started playing guitar, and then we had a singer, and the guy ended up going off to college in a couple years, and I was like, well, we need a singer. There was no one around. We couldn't find anyone. This was, York, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So I said, well, let me give it a shot. Let me try to sing. And, of course, at first I was pretty horrible. But a few years later, I actually took vocal lessons with Steve Whiteman, who was the singer for, Whitesnake, right? I can't even remember
Steve
now.
Whiteman,
Oh, no,
Kicks?
Kicks, the band Kicks.
Yeah, Kicks.
Yeah, not Whitesnake, Kicks. That's right. And boy, he was a brutal teacher, man. He was brutal. He'd lay you down, sit some heavy books on your chest, and make you do breathing exercises. And but that's when I really developed, kind of a voice, because before that I was just screaming and pushing and didn't have any concept of how to sing. But yeah, that was a pivotal moment, because at that point I was like, okay, well then maybe I can be a singer. And
that's cool. Had you ever sung before, growing up? Did you know that you could sing at all going into it, or?
No, not really, other than singing in the shower, That's
right.
Gotcha.
It. Gotcha. That's cool. How'd you get hooked up with Steve Whiteman though? That's cool.
Well, actually, I was friends with one of the radio station DJs at 105.7 The X, which is one of the rock stations in Pennsylvania. You've probably heard of it, being from that area.
Well, I mean, I guess that would have been more central, like Lancaster, Scranton, maybe.
That might have been just more central, yeah.
Because I always grew up listening to WMMR in Philly.
Okay, yeah. That's the big one there. Okay. But yeah, I was friends with this guy, and he said, hey, I know someone that can help you with your singing. It's going to cost you a little bit, but I said, yeah, hook me up. And he gave me his information, and he actually came to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and that's where I started taking lessons. So I worked with him for maybe 4 or 5 months, something like that. So
yeah, Kicks had a couple hit albums in the late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah, they had a few. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. So I mean, you came down to Florida in around 2012, and how did Funeral happen? Was that something you started? Was that already going before you joined? What was the deal there?
Well, when I moved to Florida, I actually had Turning Point still on my mind. Because I was the singer for that band. I wrote a lot of the songs, and so my goal was just to go down to Florida, find musicians to kind of play those songs, and just replace the old guys and just kind of start anew. But
okay.
That didn't happen. I actually had an ad on Craigslist, believe it or not. And John Paniccioni, the bass player for I Woke Up Early for My Funeral, found it and contacted me and said, hey, I know you're wanting to do your stuff from your old band, but we have a project going. Would you be interested in trying out for it and seeing what happens? I said, yeah, sure. So I went to Orlando, and I tried out with them a couple of times, and it kind of went from there. So
nice. Yeah, I mean that's one of those things where I always keep in mind, because you never know what opportunities are gonna pop up, and it helps to be flexible.
Yes.
To realize that, okay, you might go in a few different turns that you don't necessarily expect, but if you allow yourself to go open to try different things, even if you have your heart set on one thing, it might be another, it could still lead to something pretty good.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that band. I still do, even to this day. I love those guys. Just great guys in that band. And so, yeah.
What did you think of the name I Woke Up Early for My Funeral? Because I always thought, that's a bit of a mouthful.
Man, I tell you, trying to say that on stage every show was it was a
guys, is there a way we could shorten this up a little bit? It's
I tell you, I tried to talk with Ryan about that many times, but I guess the meaning, and I get more of the meaning now. I guess it was waking up before you're dead, living your life before you're gone. That whole phrase to him was like his whole life. It was like his life motto. So he wasn't going to budge on that. And,
gotcha.
I see that now, but in the beginning I was like, yeah, we got to change this,
Yeah.
Well,
that's cool. So how long were you with that band for? Did you do Because I know you guys from working the circuit mainly, but I know you guys. Did you put out a couple EPs, or like how much? What ended up happening with that band?
Yeah, it was. I guess we were together for 3 or 4 years, maybe longer. Might have been closer to 5.
It's not bad.
It's 2013. So yeah, because Crowfly started I think in 2016.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we did a couple EPs, and then we just kind of. I mean, it got to the point where we were kind of going in different writing directions, and I kind of wanted to start a side project to do that, and the guys weren't real thrilled about that. So we just decided to, let's just hang it up. And, we thought about getting back. I thought about heading back down there maybe and just do like a couple acoustic shows or something with them. But that was kind of the end of it around 2015, 2016. And then Crowfly kind of started from about that time.
Cool. I'm trying to remember some of the other folks in Crowfly. I think, because I think some of the people in that band were in another band as well, locally. I'm trying to remember the name, but
yeah, you had Timothy Estes was the drummer. He passed away last year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so that kind of put a wrench in the gears for that band. But
yeah,
Dave was in Funeral. He was the drummer for Funeral.
Oh, right.
And then he was the guitar player in Crowfly. And then we had a bunch of different bass players, so it was
okay.
You probably wouldn't remember many of those because we went through about 3 or 4. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if I ever played any shows. I think I might have played 1 or 2 shows with you as Crowfly.
Yeah, maybe.
I probably played more with you when you were in Funeral back in the day, but
yeah.
And again, that was in the really early days of my band as well. So, but yeah, no, I think we did. I think we did Shady Oaks in Palm Bay at some point together.
Yeah, Shady Smokes. I love that place.
It was a fun room, but it was like, my God, the cigarette smoke in that place.
It
was
smoke
rough.
hangover. Yeah, it was rough.
Oh yeah. My wife would not be like, she cannot handle any of that. Like I got to come home and just put all my clothes on the back porch. Like it's bad.
Yeah, it hangs on you for quite a while.
For sure. And I think we might have done, I'm trying to think that the show we did, it was either one for Chris Sherry, who was the promoter out there. It was either that or the Brevard County, Metal Music Awards or something, maybe?
Yeah, was that with James Cripps?
It could have been. Yeah, it was either James or Chris Sherry, one of those two guys. But yeah, wonderful guys, great promoters, obviously, and very good friends to this day.
Yeah, definitely.
So Crowfly, how long was Crowfly together for? Because I haven't heard too much from Crowfly in recent years. Certainly, not like post pandemic. What ended up happening there?
Yeah, that was pretty much when the pandemic happened. That kind of that's when everybody kind of stopped for a while, I guess. And after that, we just really never picked it up again.
Right. I mean, obviously, I know you lost Tim, which again, my condolences for that. But
yeah, well, that was the thing. I mean, last year, before he passed, a few months before he passed, we actually had plans. I was going to head down there for the summer. And, of course, we were writing new songs. And, I mean, that was going to be kind of our entrance back into the scene. And then, he didn't make it to that. So so now we're just kind of like, well, it's just, I don't know if Crowfly will ever, because without him, it's kind of, I don't know if I'd want to carry on the name or anything. So.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, yeah, and one of the reasons why I kind of noticed, I kind of reached out to you right away is because I saw that you've been a little more active on YouTube lately with your own channel, and it's not necessarily music related, but it is stuff that is a little more personal to you. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've, as you know, in this music business, in the scene, it's alcohol becomes quite a big player in things. And,
yeah, I mean, it's such a rock cliche at this point, but I mean, it happens.
It does, and I mean, I didn't really realize I had a problem with it because I never really drank when I was singing. Like I would always hit the stage sober, but man, I tell you, afterwards it was anything goes, and it was getting to the point where it was affecting everything in my life because that's all I wanted to do. And I talk about that a little bit on my channel is, I started to, it didn't matter if it was music or if I was hanging out with friends or it was Christmas morning, I couldn't wait to hit the booze, it was just like, and I really struggled with it for a long time. And, finally about 3 years ago, I just pulled the plug and said, you know what, I've got to stop this. And I did, and I overcame it. And I feel like, starting the YouTube channel was kind of a way for me to document it, to kind of my own little journal of my, my life and evolution and all that type of thing. But also for others to maybe hear something that might help them overcome what they're going through. Because, man, I know I can think of about 20 people right off the top of my head that drink way too much.
Yeah.
Just, within my extended family and other bands and things like that. And I see them struggling with the same things. But it is a personal choice, and no one else can really change it unless you truly want to change. You won't change. It's got to come from you.
I mean, one of the things I noticed about, and this isn't just with music, but I think, I feel like, creativity and artistic expression, whether it's music or anything else, it tends to be a form of therapy for a lot of folks. Certainly myself included. It's a way that we express ourselves, and certainly being singers, we're known for being even more vulnerable on stage in
Sure.
ways that, a guitar player or a drummer might not necessarily understand. But it's also when you're using your voice, you're emoting a lot more, and you are a little more vulnerable in that case. I've heard, knowing, and again, not having firsthand experience with substance abuse myself, I haven't really gone down that road. But from what I understand, a lot of it has to do with almost like self-medication in a way to deal with, some other sort of stress or trauma. And I don't know what that might have been for you. I don't know if you go into that on your page or not. But is there anything that you think led you down to, to have that dependency on alcohol for a little bit? Was it kind of covering up for something in your life? I don't know if you wanted to get involved with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's vulnerability, and as a singer, because you're up there expressing yourself, and all that emotion is coming from you. You walk off the stage sometimes wondering how you did, and then sometimes the mind gets in your ear, and it starts saying, "Oh, you screwed up this," or maybe somebody thought this part was bad, or you can be really hard on yourself. So I think in that aspect, drinking, it's to kind of numb that and shut that voice up. But also, childhood trauma and things. I mean, I had somewhat of a rough childhood, I guess. I mean, I was adopted and things like that, and I won't get too far into all that, but I think I was using it as a crutch to cover up those emotions and keep those things out of my mind, and rather than just facing it head on, that I would use the alcohol and the drinking as kind of a way to but also from all that trauma came a lot of the songwriting ability with, ideas and the artistic. I used it in that way also. So I guess it was a double-edged sword, if you will.
Yeah, no, definitely. From what I understand, especially when you give up something cold turkey like that, there could be the withdrawal at first is very difficult. I feel like obviously, like you said, you've been about 3 years sober.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. In the last 3 years, have you found some, other ways to sort of like help fill whatever void there is, or help, express that part of yourself? Obviously with, alcohol not being in the picture either. What are some of the changes that you've made to kind of help deal with all that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with my son, that's definitely, I have a 6-year-old son, and he has been my greatest inspiration for a lot of things, but definitely not drinking alcohol, because I want to be present for every moment. When you're drinking a lot all the time, you're not. And if you are sober, you're thinking about the next time you're going to drink. So he has been probably my largest inspiration. But also, I kind of went down the path of meditation, self-reflection the last few years. And I kind of, I came across a motto that really stuck, and it's life is happening for you, not to you. And for the longest time, it was the other way around for me. Like all these things are happening to me, and this happened to me. Why is this happening? And I got to drink more now to get, And so I was always looking at life like it was out to get me, or someone else was out to get me.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's, nah, this is happening for me, to teach me, to help me learn, to grow. And I think keeping that in my head at all times, just it changes my entire perspective on everything.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think that there are so many resources like that out there as far as like mindful meditation and things like that. Things that I've heard about in therapy as well, and just certainly becoming a father, it changes you, and I know because I've done that twice over by now, and I know my oldest is around the same age as your son, and it's such a cliche, obviously, but it is really the best thing, like to be a dad. It's amazing.
It is.
Like
It
I don't
is.
know how else to put it. It's just seeing these people these people that you've made basically, and watching them, watching the changes and watching them become like grow into their own little personality is just it's the best thing. It really is.
It's
It's
a
the coolest.
gift. It really is. It's a gift. Yep.
Has does your boy know that you've been in bands and that you play music and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll show him some videos and stuff, and I'm like, "Hey, that's Dad up there," and he just, he likes it. I don't know that he really understands what's going on, but he
Yeah.
likes the music and stuff. So, yeah. I mean, someday if he wants to learn the guitar or learn how to sing or something, I definitely would enjoy teaching him, but I don't want to push it on him either. So.
Yeah. I hear you. Have there been any other like favorite bands of yours or that you've like kind of played for him in the car? And I don't know if he's responded to any of it.
Yeah, what's that band? Dire Straits. For some reason, I had Dire Straits on one day, and
Really?
man, that kid just loved that whole album. Yeah, I mean, I don't
Money for
listen to
nothing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't listen to it all the time or anything, but man, he asked me to play that, over and over. I'm like, wow, and he
Sultans of
likes,
Swing.
yeah, that
Yeah.
one especially. And there's another band, Tears for Fears.
Yes.
Man, he just loves those
Love
80s
Tears
songs.
for Fears.
Yeah, me too. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of influences, what were some of your influences to get into the game? I know I know you and I are kind of around the same age, but I'm curious what were some of the bands that kind of got you going, that
Yeah,
inspired you to do it?
I was really into, believe it or not, like the 90s, like alternative stuff. Like, if like Toad the Wet Sprocket,
Mm-hmm.
Matchbox 20,
Yeah.
um, Three Doors Down. I guess that was more like 2000s. But I really was in Goo Goo Dolls was one I really liked back in
I
the
can
day.
definitely see that. Yeah, I definitely remember from when we played with you. I'm like, yeah, this he's
Yeah,
definitely got that 90s vibe. I mean, even though it was 2012, I
yeah.
still.
I would always be the one dialing them because most of the guys I've always played with wanted to do the really heavy rock, hard rock.
Yeah.
And so I kind of would be the one that kind of be like, all right, we can do the heavy music, but let's put a melodic vocal or,
Yeah.
kind of dial it down a little bit. But
Yeah, bro, I'm the same way. Like so many other like hard rock bands, they want someone to scream the whole time, to do all that stuff, and I never really got that from you, and I was kind of the same way. I was like, no, I'm a singer. I'd rather
yeah,
sing.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
Again,
And then,
no disrespect to any of the guys who do that stuff. There are some guys who can scream, but also happen to be great singers as well, and
sure,
I'm
sure.
not disrespecting anybody who does that, but I know for me it was definitely always an uphill battle
Yeah,
because it's like you
yeah.
think like what is what I do, is that not heavy enough? Like
Yeah, it's never heavy enough. It's, unless you're
it's
doing
like heavier
acoustic or
than
something.
thou.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah.
I feel you on that. But yeah, that's awesome. I mean I'm definitely not surprised because I know we did a few acoustic shows together. Um, I forget if it was either as Funeral or as Crowfly, but I remember we had done a few we had been on a few acoustic shows together, and I always saw you as being very comfortable in that element.
Yeah, and I've always actually preferred that, believe it or not. I mean, I love the electric guitar. I love the loud. I love but man, just sitting down with an acoustic and singing, man, I feel like I'm in my zone in that scene there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you have a particular singer or songwriter that really kind of that you identify with that you've kind of tried to emulate as best you can over the years?
Man, there's been so many. I mean, I've always loved Chris Cornell. And actually one of my greatest influences, which probably doesn't come out in my songwriting or my voice, but Villavallo from the band Him. I'm not sure if you know the band Him.
Yes, I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, him is awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan. He's got that lower register for
Yeah,
sure.
he's very, very like baritone singer. But man, I've always loved the way he enunciates things and just his and there's just something about his voice that I've always I never really, tried to copy it or anything, but I was influenced a lot from that band.
I can see he's a very soulful singer, Billy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite songs from them is "The Sacrament."
Yes. Love that song. Man, that's just a beautiful song. I mean,
yeah.
And see, that's a perfect example of kind of like a metal band but with melodic vocals,
Absolutely.
You know.
I mean, they call it love metal or whatever it was, whatever the title is, but it's just great rock music, man.
It is. It really is.
Stuff like that. There's always going to be a market for that somewhere, I think.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I don't know what they're doing nowadays. I think I haven't heard much from them, but I'm sure that.
Yeah, I mean, he's going solo for now. I know the band is done, but Billy is still out there. He was touring with Black Veil Brides and a local Orlando band, Dark Divine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you know those guys, but like those guys they've been going on the road with them here in the States, and I think they've been doing some stuff in Europe as well. Like,
nice.
I'm like, yeah, I've had Robbie from that band on my show as well. Like those guys, they're making some moves.
Good. That's awesome. That's good to hear that. Yeah. That type of music needs to be heard, in my opinion.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so getting back to your YouTube channel, obviously you've been telling your own story. Do you give like any tips to other people who might be looking to make that sort of change, or maybe other recovering addicts maybe, or is what are some of the typical content on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's been really sporadic up to this point because I haven't really had like a direction I wanted to go with it, because sometimes I talk about diet and food and stuff, or sometimes meditation, or lately I've been talking about the addiction thing. So I'm just kind of, I might eventually come with some sort of direction where I'm going to just talk about this type of thing and stick with it. But I would say, as far as addiction goes, if you're struggling with that, there's this, I always say there's two people inside you, or there's you, and then there's the ego. The ego is the one that will continue to make your decisions until you take control of it.
Mm-hmm.
So until you really find out who you are, know thyself, know who you are, I think that's the key to overcoming addiction, is to really understanding that you are in control and you have the power to create. And you can do or not do whatever you want, but as long as the ego is in control of your thoughts and actions, you're going to continuously fall victim to addiction and anger. I mean, there's so many other emotions that fall under that, I think.
Yeah. And it's, especially if you're looking for validation from these external factors, like, what is it really that you're looking for? Like, what type of void are you trying to fill with that?
Yes, exactly. You're looking for an external solution to an internal problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and certainly being on stage and getting that sort of validation, it's a unique thing, and obviously I assume that you're probably a lot like me in that one of the few places that you feel really uninhibited is when you're on stage, ironically enough, in front of people.
Right? You'd think that would be the most uncomfortable place, but yeah, that's where you feel. It's where you feel like you can just express everything and anything, and it's
because you feel like you're in control of the situation.
Right. Right. And it's your art, and there can't
Yeah,
be any
and
good or
you feel
bad
like, all
about it.
right, in that moment, I am being listened to. I
Right.
am someone is actually letting me speak rather than speaking at me.
Yeah, exactly. Because someone's actually listening. Yeah. Or at least you think they are anyway, but
Yeah, I mean, preferably, you
preferably,
hope
yeah.
they are.
Yeah. But yeah, that's very true. That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah. No, I'm curious. Hey, are there any particular books or podcasts that have kind of helped you along, as far as, cultivating some of this advice, or maybe helped you through your own journey that you sort of credit with that?
I don't really have any the podcast world is kind of new to me. I mean, obviously you're doing podcasts, which is cool. I didn't know that. So now that I know that, I can check some of your stuff out too. But
It's
um,
all over the place for sure.
yeah, yeah. No, I guess not offhand. No, I mean, I've really, my journey has really been just a single, just me, me inside meditation and just, I've kind of gathered all my inspiration through just
Right.
myself, which is, yeah.
Sure, but I mean, in terms of like the meditation and those other resources, and like, have you gone and like found out about that, or maybe seen a therapist about it, or where does some of that come from for you?
Okay, yeah, actually, I mean, a lot of YouTube channels is actually where I've kind of got into that.
All right, yeah, that's
So
that's kind of what I was driving at, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, there's a guy called Josh X, I think that's his name, Josh X, and he has a YouTube channel, and that was a big inspiration for me. If anyone's interested in meditation and kind of healing and the holistic way of healing and things like that, it would be a good channel to check out. But yeah, and of course you click on that channel and then 100 other ones pop up. And so I just kind of started going through the,
Oh
the
yeah.
YouTube catalog and watching things. And some of it doesn't resonate. Some of it's like somebody trying to sell you things, so you kind of have to weed out all the garbage. Uh,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of good information on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly when it comes to, making decisions like that, knowing what your values are, knowing what your principles are and where they come from, and having goals for yourself, like what do like wanting to be, the best version of yourself, wanting to be the best father, best husband, whatever it may be, and knowing what that is, and being able to go after it, I think it makes a difference in the world. I feel like too many people out there don't really feel have that sense of purpose,
Yes.
or
Yep.
like, figuring out your sense of purpose, or what your duty or responsibility is. And some people might think, oh, responsibility, that seems stressful. I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like getting where you want to be, what is it that you want? Do you even know what you want? Those are always things I think are good to ask yourself whenever you're going through these things. And whether or not you're trying to recover from alcoholism or any other sort of addiction, those are just good general, you know, things in life to go after, I think.
Sure. I think what you said makes a lot of sense is that everyone's looking for, what do you want in life or what is your goal? And everyone puts all these, oh, I got to make money or I got to have the best job or I need to get, and if you kind of get rid of all the titles and you
Hmm.
just kind of, you don't need any of that to be a good person or to be a good father or to be, someone that's just happy when they wake up in the morning. And I think
Hmm.
if you start there, all those other things fall into place anyway. So at least that's what I've found. I
Absolutely.
wake up with gratitude. I just wake up and I say I'm thankful and blessed, and
Oh,
whatever
dude,
comes, I'm happy.
gratitude is huge,
It is.
and thankfully there's some, you know, for all the stuff on social media that people complain about, and sometimes rightly so. I think the flip side of it is that you do have all those resources out there if you seek them out. A lot of these motivational things, faith-based or otherwise, or wherever you fall into with that, but those things are out there, and I think that's certainly one of the blessings about this digital age we live in.
Yes. Yeah. You can look at it one of two ways. You can say it's ruining us, and we're AI is going to be taking over our lives, but I see it the way you do. I think there's good and bad, and if you use it the right way, it can be a very good tool, and it's helping a lot of
Absolutely.
people. So
Gotcha. Well, with all that in mind, with the YouTube channel going and with you coming out of the other side of this really personal discovery, how, as far as music goes, is that something you have? Do you have anything in the works in the future? Anything in mind about what you want to do? If is it still something you want to do? Like, what's going on with that?
yeah, I mean it's definitely still tugging at my it's pulling me, and I want to get back into it. It's just with this whole thing, and with my drummer, with Tim, and it's kind of put a wrench in the gears, I guess. But
Yeah.
I do think I'll find something to put something together again in the future. I think right now it's kind of just best I don't try to rush it and find something organic and let it happen. But I mean, there are days I'm like, man, I wish I was playing. I wish I was playing tonight, or
So
traveling.
I know you play guitar as well. I know, do you like to write songs on your own, or do you prefer like the collaborative process?
Usually I like to come up with an idea, like maybe just a chorus or a verse, and then what I like to do is take that to a band or to someone else and then collaborate and just watch it grow. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, because yeah, I'm sure you can write a song on your own, and it's fun to do that sometimes. But to me, it just comes to life when you get everyone else's you know garden of of artistic ability involved with it, and it just
Yeah.
kind of grows. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, awesome, man. I'm glad to hear it, and I'm glad for the success of the YouTube channel. Hopefully, hopefully that keeps growing. Hopefully that helps out other people, who might be just looking for some friendly advice and looking for information on meditation or whatever it might be. And even if it's fans of your old band, just to come and see what you're up to. I think it's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah, maybe I'll put some clips on there of some acoustic stuff or something just for fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So where can people find you on YouTube?
The channel is called Evolution of Self, and you should be able to pop that in there. You'll find me there. Um, right now, that's the only place I really have. I'm directing traffic, I guess. So, but I also have an
Gotcha.
Instagram channel, which is also Evolution of the Self. If anyone wants to check that out.
Awesome. Well, I will be sure to drop all the links in the description here. Very cool. Well, I mean, I'm glad. You'll definitely have to keep me posted, especially if some new music ends up coming in out of this, down the road. Obviously, there's no rush. There's no timetable on it. I know how that goes. Um,
Yeah,
but um, but yeah, man. Hopefully, Orlando hasn't seen the last of the two of us sharing the stage together.
I
I'd
hope
like
not.
that to happen again one of these days.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. That'd be great.
Thanks once again to Brandon James. Great dude. I was glad to catch up with him. It had been a while. One thing he mentioned that I guess I didn't know this until after we had finished the interview segment is that Brandon has actually relocated to Kentucky. He's been living there for the past couple of years. I know he still has plenty of friends and connections down here in Florida, and from what I understand, he might be trying to get back down here one of these days. Who knows? But either way, make sure you check out his YouTube channel, Evolution of the Self. It's at youtube.com/evolution of self 1111, or check him out on Instagram, Evolution of the Self, all with underscores in between the words. Evolution of the Self on Instagram. As far as upcoming events, it's been a while since I've had any of those to announce here on the show, but as I record this, it's April 26th, 2024. Next week, or I should say a week from the time that I'm recording this, I will be playing a show with New Divide, my Linkin Park tribute band, that'll be Friday, May 3rd, 2024, at the Shovelhead Lounge in Longwood, which is just outside of Orlando. We will be there along with Suffer, which is a Stain tribute band, and Nookie, a Limp Bizkit tribute band. So that's the music of Stained, Limp Bizkit, and Linkin Park all in one night. It's going to be a pretty cool night of new metal. So make sure you check that out. We have facebook.com/New Divide Band for all the info with that. And the night after that, I will be playing with my 90s cover band, Friends of the 90s. We'll be doing a lot of alternative, pop rock and hard rock hits from the 90s. That will be at Fish on Fire on Saturday, May 4th, Star Wars Day, actually. May 4th, 2024, at Fish on Fire in Orlando. Check us out at facebook.com/Friends of the 90s. For more info on that, I'll be posting, I'll make sure I post the link in the description for all that information. So that is it for this episode. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at jackxconnor. Like me on Facebook, facebook.com/jackconnormusic. You can check out my old original band, facebook.com/vertebrakerband. New Divide, obviously, at facebook.com/New Divide Band. Friends of the 90s at facebook.com/Friends of the 90s. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you can email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com. You could tweet me or X me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. If, no matter where you're listening to this, whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, make sure you subscribe or hit like or leave a review. Ding the notification bell, whatever you need to do, to be notified of new episodes coming up. And feel free to go back and listen to the old ones. Thank you guys as always for joining me. This has been the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.